The most prestigious Czech and Slovak virtual racing series is back. 20 of the best drivers from Czechia and Slovakia. 12 races at some of the most famous circuits in the world. Who is going to become the new champion? This is the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. After a thrilling opening to the second half of our season, we're back for our second race of the year in the single-seaters, and we're at the legendary Spa. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me today, it is, of course, Chris Buxton.
The beautiful Ardennes Forest greets us once again. It's Spa in single-seaters. I mean, what can go wrong? I still very fondly remember the C9s we had here all those seasons ago. Up top, it's Stefanko and Pichada that are dominating the way, with Podstarter and Siratek doing battle for third right behind them, and then a close battle, David Pichada, Needlik and Lehman in a three-way battle right behind them. And as always, every point is valuable throughout the field. This championship has been so close and so entertaining thus far. Even right the way down to the bottom. Only Vakulchik is yet to get off the mark, but everybody is going to be vying for every single point they can get. In the teams, it's the Pichada brothers with a very slender lead of only 20 points from ESET, but you know that can change in a heartbeat. But Entropic are really pulling themselves back in the game, only 20 points further back, and as we now hit the single-seater segment of this season. And it's clear and sunny once again, but only 19 degrees air, but 31 degrees track temperature. Ideal and perfect racing conditions for this wonderful, wonderful circuit in Belgium.
And it is Carvago taking their first pole position of the season as Lucas Podstada takes pole ahead of Lucas Pichada. Martin Siratek in the lead Entropic car from third position alongside Martin Stefanko, who's languishing down in fourth position. That's low for him. Kadlicek up in fifth, though. Great qualifying for him ahead of the other ERT car of David Pichada. He's going to be very happy about that. Carvago with both cars in the top 10 as Peter Hermach manages to qualify himself on the fifth row of the grid. A little bit further down, Svoboda, Maricek, Vizzy, Shembera. Vizzy again struggling in qualifying, 2 seconds off of the pace. Martin Neidlich not setting a time, neither did Kashka or Jan Bruna. Who do you have your eye on here today, Chris?
Oh, anyone in the top four could do it. You cannot ever discount the mighty Stefanko from a storming start. He's done it so many times, and I fully expected to see him do it again.
Carvago from pole position for the first time ever, I believe. As far as I know, this is the first time Carvago has ever had pole, and Lucas Podstada is going to lead us away, and it looks like a good start for the top four, except for Stefanko.
Oh, no!
Stefanko got a terrible start, moved to try and defend the inside line there, and he's collected one of the big shot cars as well. And that is going to be an absolutely huge accident, and that's Hora that's been caught up in that as well. Stefanko's lost his entire front wing. Neidlich has been caught up in that, remember, as well. He started from the back of the grid after not qualifying. David Pichada has lost a position. He's down to 7th. That's the Carvago car ahead of him, I believe, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's actually Hermach, who's made it all the way up to 6th position in the chaos of that start. Meanwhile, though, up at the front, Lucas Pichata is still following behind Lucas Podstata. It is still the two Lucases leading the way, and they've built a bit of a gap now to Martin Sirotek. I don't know if that's a result of the chaos that happened, if that's why that gap has started to build. Oh, nope, there we go. Safety car is out. Safety car is out, which is great news for those that were caught up in that first incident, Chris.
I don't think I have ever done a bigger commentator's curse in my entire commentary career. Expecting Stefanko to do well, because he generally has. He had the worst I've ever seen, and as he came across to try and defend his line, he was then sent into oblivion. Oh my goodness. But yeah, Peter Hermach, what a start. 6th position for the second Carvago car. Podstata fending off the advances of Pichata. Let's look at it again from the 4th place starter. So he just starts and then just bogs down, and as he tries to then get the defensive line, it's then, well, it's just all chaos and anarchy then, unfortunately, so that very much spells the end of the E-set runner. And there is Thomas Horror, who was very much the innocent bystander in that, as the spinning Stefanko just came right across the nose, which somehow is still attached to the big shot car. I mean, he will get that one back. He will get it's hanging on in there, rather literally, the nose cone of the big shot car. So by the time that Thomas Horror has got that car back to the pits and fixed and running again, as we now look at Martin Nadley, that's when the safety car will then be brought back in. So what happened to Nadley? Oh, he dropped it completely on his own, unfortunately. As a great shame. So the rear wing detached from his car. That's and we'll see what happened to Alish Dander as well, because he's a long way behind the field. So yeah, this safety car may take a little while. Of course, the lap is quite long in Spa, so it's going to take a while for the still running wounded cars to return to the pit lane, get fixed, and then actually rejoin the back of the train. So there is the good old Stang at the front of the field. Yeah, what a... Lucas Podstata, since his change to Carvago, has really kind of seen a new lease of life. We saw him really challenging hard in the top 4 for Silverstone last time around, and he's gotten pole by a tiny margin. It was just under, just over half a tenth from Lucas Podstata, and then it still wasn't a tenth of a second to Sirotek, which is amazing considering how long the lap is here.
Yeah, really impressive in qualifying. It's incredible, yeah, to see, and Stefanko even was only a tenth and a bit. He was only 108 thousandths off of pole position. So yeah, to have 4 drivers or 3 drivers within nearly within a tenth of pole. Let's go on board with Michael Lehman, who, by the way, yeah, he had he was in 7th. Oh yeah, and he just gets clipped there. And I noticed that on the when we watched it from the offboard, is that it looked like he picked up damage, and then it just looked like the car fixed itself. I noticed that when it happened before, but I assumed it was just like a lag sort of issue. But I think he may have gotten really lucky there, and essentially 1 pixel was the difference between his race being ruined or him being now in 5th position, because of course he was the beneficiary of all of that chaos. He moved up a couple of positions as a result of that. But if that wheel had kept wobbling the way that it was briefly there, then that would not have continued like that. And there is Hermach, who I mentioned earlier at the start of the race, who had an incredible start. It is worth pointing out now, though, that now that we have the timing tower on the left-hand side of our screen, we can see who has opted for the soft tires and who has opted for the harder compound of tires, and we can see that everybody in the front, the top 7, have all opted for the soft. So it's a slightly different situation compared to what we saw last time at Silverstone, where I feel we saw a lot more of a split in terms of what the oh, and that's Stefanko out of the race. That's how how significant that damage was.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, because it was just impacts to several cars that we saw Martin Stefanko unfortunately involve himself in. But what we do see is the entire field is back into this group. So with any luck, the safety car should decide that it is coming in this time around. Now that tends to happen by the time they get to the end of Sector 2. If the field is formed it tends to indicate that the safety car may well come in on the lap that it's currently on, and the end of sector 2 is around here somewhere. So if we get the notification safety car come in this lap in the next few seconds, then we will be back green flag racing shortly. Otherwise, it may have to do another lap. It may have to do one complete lap with the field formed, and it does look like that is going to be the case. Yeah. We have crossed into sector 3, so we will have one further lap behind the safety car. Entropic are in a really good spot. Look at that, Sirotek and Kadlacek.
Yeah,
3rd and 4th right now, but this is a huge boost for Lucas Pichada in his championship charge. I mean, when was the last time we saw Marcin Stefenko retire from a race, let alone on the first lap before we've even got to the first corner? I cannot recall ever seeing Stefenko out of the race before we get to the first corner.
No, yeah, definitely not super common, especially a driver of his caliber. Very surprising to see, and what was also really strange is that the initial launch seemed good. So in the we don't have the replay up right now, obviously, but we have seen the replay now at this point, and we saw it when it happened live and everything. But I have to say, it looks like he got a good start at first. The first like 2 seconds of the race, he's right there with the top 3. But then something happened. I don't know if he missed a gear, if he accidentally downshifted instead of upshifted, went into neutral, and then when he finally did get into gear, he spun up the rears, because it looked like he bogged down, he lost a lot of momentum, and then all of a sudden he caught all of that throttle, and it spun him off. It spun him off to the side a little bit. And then, yeah, he ended up making contact. I forget who he made contact with. I don't know if that was the Big Shock or I think it might have been, because Hora was right there.
I think it was Hora that he caught as he was spinning back across the track. I'm assuming. I confess I'm not 100% sure who it was. Yes, it was Lehman, because that's right, because we were trying to figure out whether Lehman's wheel was actually detached, and the fact he's still in 5th would indicate that it wasn't. So yeah, it was Michael Lehman that he then tangled with, and which then looked like it caused damage to Stefenko's suspension, which pitched his car, the ESET car, across the track into the path of Thomas Hora, who, as we've just seen, has made it back to the pits and is pitting along with Kiesel in the Puma car. And Nadlik rather undid his own race after surviving that first melee into La Source and then having that big spin moment. And that is not as difficult to achieve as you might think. These cars have a huge amount of torque, and they are very, very eager to dump all their horses at a great rate of knots down through the rear wheels. They don't have traction control. They don't really have anything that they have DRS and ERS, yes, but they beg your pardon, they have push to pass and DRS, yes, but as far as traction control, forget it. That is all down to the skill of the driver, and that won't be the last time we see the incredible torque of these machines catch drivers out.
And just for the people at home, this is the first time that Stefenko is finishing off the podium since round 2 at Daytona this year. And it's the first time that he's going to finish outside of the top 5, full stop. He hasn't finished outside, in fact, he hasn't finished outside the top 4 all season long. So that is definitely going to be a big hit to his points, no doubt about it. Thankfully for him, coming into this race, he is sitting on 158 points compared to Lucas Pichada's 142 points, which is especially impressive when you consider the fact that Lucas Pichada has only won 2 races so far this year. Interestingly as well, by the way, the 2 races that Lucas Pichada has won were the opening rounds for each of the various cars. So he won the first round in the AMG GT3, and then he won the opening round in the single-seater as well. It'll be very interesting to see if he can buck that trend in the second half of the season and pick up some extra wins. But I have to say, for a guy that's been finishing second a whole lot, he has a whole lot of points as well. So he's not doing too bad in the championship for somebody that's only picked up a couple of wins.
Very, very true. As we ride on board with the current champion, we can see the lights on the safety car are off. So that is the indication that the safety car will be returning to the pits this time around. So Lucas Pichada is got himself a little bit of a distance between himself and the safety car, which at Spa isn't all that drastic because of where the pit lane entrance is. So, you do have to be careful you time that right. But I am fully expecting, with the safety car lights now off, that the safety car will pull in this time around. And Lucas Buxton still wants to hit the safety car line, which is just after the pit lane entrance. He still wants to hit that at a running pace, of course, but it's not so drastic because they have to go through the final chicane anyway, so that's why he's not backing the pack off too far. Also, they can't fall away too far. They will be penalised if they do so. Lucas Buxton, he really wants to get on with it. He's wanting to maximise the loss of his arch rival, the championship leader, Martin Stefanko. And here we go. We are racing once again in Spa. Lucas Buxton then leads the field down to La Source. Obviously, everybody single file. The Entropic pair getting very, very close under braking, but no danger at the moment. I did see what looked like Eric Vizzi in the Lenovo Legion car get very close to Maracek in the Big Shot car, but again, no impact it would seem as we come through Eau Rouge, up and over Radion, and back onto the Camel Straight for the first time in anger. Lots and lots of push to pass being used. So people trying to... Oh, I spoke too soon. It's Eric Vizzi. That's the second Lenovo Legion car to find the wall. Oh my goodness me. Again, we have a team with both cars out very, very early. That could be another safety car if that car cannot move.
And that's got to be Eau Rouge. That's definitely Eau Rouge, where that was happening. So I don't know if he was having to go defensive, if somebody was going on the attack. As you pointed out, lots of people using push to pass as they were coming out of La Source, because of course you carry that speed all the way down through Radion, through Eau Rouge, down the Camel Straight into Lake Holmes. So no surprises there. Here is the replay of what happened with Vizzi, and we are riding on board down towards Eau Rouge. And he just loses the back end, and that's going to pitch him into the barrier, and that is going to be a huge impact on his race, and with the barrier, so a couple of huge impacts there actually. But for all that push to pass that was deployed, no change of position at all at the front. It is still the exact same as they were. We're riding on board with Kadlicek in only his second race ever at VGP. Had an incredible season opener though last time out. He's already picked up 17 points, and he's only been in the series for one race, and he's and there's Hermach. Oh no, Hermach had that great start earlier on from 10th up into 6th position, but that's all going to get undone. He's going to lose a couple of more positions, and he's actually going to be knocked out of the points paying positions if Kiesel has anything to say about it. But no, he's going to just about maintain that 15th place position, but that is a terrible time to have that mistake, Chris, because everybody was bunched up from the safety car period, so he just lost loads of positions.
Oh, what a terrible shame for Thomas Hermach then, as we come back to the top four. Lucas Buxton gaining the slipstream, and he's very, very powerful along the Camel Straight as we come into Lake Holmes, now towards Normandy. Now, I would imagine Lucas Buxton is going to bide his time. He's had the pace advantage over Lucas Buxton up to this point, but with the kind of newfound life that the Carvago recent signee, we should say, in the form of Buxton, that well could change. Right behind them, the pair of Entropics and Michael Lehman as well. So that quartet now very much a quintet as we come through Pouhon once again, down towards campus. It is all going to be the application of pressure, because as we've seen so many times already in this race, and we still have 40.5 minutes of it left, these cars will bite very, very quickly, and good luck catching it at a fast track such as Spa.
Yeah, exactly right. In a car like this especially, yeah, difficult stuff. But Carvago does still have Buxton leading the way after what happened with Hermach. And Hermach is not out of this just yet. 40 minutes of racing still to go. Lots of positions still to be made up. And I have to say, Peter Hermach has been one of my absolute favorite battlers throughout the entirety of this season. He's done really, really well. And always very respectful in a dogfight, which I really appreciate. So looking forward to see what Hermach can do. Hopefully it means that we'll get to see some really nice overtaking. So it's not all bad news necessarily, but on to another lap. Podstata still leading the way. Pichata seemingly doesn't have the same kind of straight line speed deficit that we saw at Silverstone. It was at Silverstone, right? Wasn't it Lucas Pichata that had that incredible straight line speed where he would just pull away from Stefanko on the Hangar Straight and on the Wellington Straight? Despite Stefanko being in the slipstream, but it seems that maybe is not the case. Or Podstata has taken a page from Pichata's book, Lucas Pichata's book, and has come to Spa with the exact same kind of setup, which is very possible. Of course, a low downforce setup at Spa is very popular.
Let's see what happened to Thomas Hora then. The Big Shot cars it was the Big Shot team that were the first to retire from Silverstone. Both of those cars were out very early on. Oh, side by side coming through Blanchimont. Brave move. Oh, it's a nearly 3 wide. Oh my goodness me, don't do it. Side by side, late braking move with the softer tyres. Nicely done, Thomas Hora. Albeit for, I think it was 16th position, but either way, still, he's now up to 12th, I beg your pardon. But yeah, a good move, and nonetheless, I was really hoping that wasn't going to go 3 wide. Yes, the track is wide enough, but at that speed, that was only going to be disaster. As Podstata giving himself a bit of a breathing space. I'm assuming there may have been a little bit of a mistake from Lucas Pichata on that occasion. But the thing with Spa is it all comes down to the Camel Straight. If you can stay with someone all the way through the lap, is the air quotes, easiest place to overtake, is the most common overtaking place, I should say, is Les Combes. Because the Camel Straight is so fast and so long that you have all that slipstream and then you have to outbrake your opponent. But generally, if you're alongside someone coming into Les Combes, your racing head will say, okay, I'll let that one go because I'll have a go at you next time around. And that's rather what I'm expecting to see. But then I didn't expect to see three cars dead before the end of the first lap, beg your pardon. Yeah. So there's only 2 of them. So both Lenovo Legions are out. That's Chambera in the Navatel car. We didn't see what happened to him. I wonder if we'll catch a replay of that. But both Lenovo Legions suffering the same fate that Big Shock did last time around.
Really unfortunate to see as well, so early in the race too. But there's confirmation that Vizzy is also, in fact, out of the race. So all 4 of those cars. So what that means for anybody who's new or doesn't remember, what that means is now every single car is going to score points apart from Kiesel. Who is currently Kiesel. The 16th place position is the only one that won't score any points. So every single car that's out there is fighting for points because, in fact, Kiesel just took 15th position. But what that means now is that Bruna is now fighting for points because the next car ahead is a points-paying position. So all 16 cars here, every single overtake out there is going to generate some sort of championship points out there. So that makes things very, very interesting. Again, I'm hugely disappointed to see 4 cars exiting the race so quickly. But it is nice to see Hora and Hermach making their way through the field. Hora, with, as you commentated on earlier, making that incredible overtake. Here we go. So we got some more side-by-side action. Michael Lehman now applying the pressure onto Kadlacek, who, again, is very new to this series. Well, welcome to VGP. Have fun dealing with Michael Lehman because he is right behind you and he is ready to attack at every single corner. It does not matter. He does not care what line you're interested in taking or what you're trying to do with your strategy. He's going to go on the offensive.
I mean, all credit to Kadlacek. He hit the ground running, was on the podium on his maiden race in Silverstone last time out. So very excited to see how he is going to tackle the beautiful Ardennes line circuit of Spa-Francorchamps as we ride on board with the Mecha All4Sim car coming onto the Camel Straight. Bit of push to pass for Michael Lehman, sizing up the move and defensive posture then for Kadlacek. So again, Lehman wisely bowing out of that. No point trying to banzai around the outside coming into Les Combes. Certainly not this early. If we're in the final couple of laps, never mind, ignore my entire sentence. That was Kaska defending the inside line more than it was Lubomir Moritz trying to attack the outside line of Les Combes, in fairness. But yeah, this early in the race, you don't want to be doing anything that daft than trying to make a move from that far back. So that's why Michael Lehman bowed out of that one. He could have tried to, but this early in the game, no point. He's clearly got the pace to challenge Kadlacek for that 4th position, but what that has done is it has split the entropic pair. There's now around about a second between those two if we look at the tower. Now riding on board with Lubomir Moritz, the surviving ESET car at this stage of the race. He's got several people ahead of him that he is looking set to challenge, of course Kashka being one of them, and the Orlina Benzina car. I did this last time, Orlina Benzin car, I nearly said there. You know, it's with the now turned around fortunes of Orlin Benzina, they're looking to continue their freshly started point scoring route, as we have a VR user. Oh, good man, Lubomir Moritz. I approve.
And worth pointing out, I think, as well, that this battle for 10th position that Moritz is involved in involves the 2 leading hard compound runners. So Kashka up there in 10th position, who is now applying heaps of pressure to the back of Svoboda. They are the 2 leading hard runners. So I've been very curious to see when people might start coming into the pits, because obviously, if you see the hard runners come in quite early, then that means, you know, they're just getting rid of those tires early. And in fact, that the soft tire is the better race tire. We're coming up to half distance now, though, and I haven't seen anybody make any planned pit stops. But then, of course, we have also had a safety car period, a fairly lengthy safety car period, which would, of course, extend the life of all of the tires of everybody involved. And those that have been into the pits, they potentially may not need to pit again. Actually, I wasn't paying attention to tires that people went onto when they came into the pits for repairs and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see, but we are definitely into that stage of the race now, where I'm very interested to see when people start coming into the pits. What's clear at this point, though, is definitely a one-stop. We don't have the same sort of tire degradation that we got at Silverstone. Thankfully, Belgium much kinder on the tires.
That is true, although there are a fair amount of decent speed corners that the hard tyres will of course enjoy more than the softs, but the softs do seem to be hanging on fairly well. We're not seeing the soft starters kind of wriggling around and struggling to keep the car under control. Prime example right ahead of us is Svoboda in the Puma car, now up to 9th position. You're not seeing that car dancing around, you're not seeing him having to counter-steer all over the place, but what he is under a lot of pressure from the Orlin Benzina car. I'm used to saying that the other way around, Benzina Orlin, as it was that way around last season.
That's what it was.
As Kashka looked like he could have made the move, but again, just biding his time, much like Lucas Pichada is up front, biding his time, not wanting to make a dangerous move. Oh, as the rears weren't quite happy with that, as the car getting a little bit skittery, coming out of the chicane now, coming down towards the source once more. As always, that worrying moment as the car in front of you has to brake, of course, a little bit earlier than you, and I always kind of wince, I always tense up whenever I'm in this position of chasing someone, especially that close. You don't want to plow into the back of them, as we have got Hermot in the Carvago car now coming into the pits for assumably a scheduled stop. He will be the first, I think, of the soft starters to come in. Here comes Kashka. He's utilising that slipstream, and again, you saw no defensive posture from Svoboda in the Puma car. He knew that move was done, and he's let him go. Again, Miroslav Svoboda could be starting to struggle a bit on those soft tyres. Probably around about now is when the soft starting tyres will start to get a bit uncomfortable. But either way, he's done fairly well, starting more towards the back of the car, well then back of the grid, beg your pardon, as Kashka, as you can see on the graphic here, started in 19th position, having not set a time, as whoa, Lubomir Moritz, brave boy, trying to go an inside manoeuvre on the inside of Buon. It obviously can be done, but you very much trust the person you are overtaking, and nicely done. Nice. Miroslav Svoboda was very forgiving there, and again, if he's struggling with his tyres, it's not worth him trying to defend essentially fresh air. As now on Svoboda's case is Thomas Hore in that now fixed Big Shot car.
Hore is definitely going to be going for the move pretty quickly here. After watching somebody get overtaken at Puan, that's definitely going to, that's going to spur you on. And Lubomir Moritz actually is still going on the attack. He's got the push to pass activated as he made his way down towards the bus stop chicane. Kashka now onto the back of Maricek. Those hard compound tires definitely seem to be working quite well for Kashka and Moritz as they're scything their way through the field and overtaking all of these soft runners. But Nobody else has come into the pits yet. Hermach is still the only driver that we've seen coming in for, again, what we assume was a planned pit stop. Lots of push-to-pass being deployed by the top 4 there. Everybody except for Sirotech deploying some push-to-pass there. Sirotech, one of those drivers that we've seen in the past anyway, historically will use his push-to-pass up just very, very early in the race, and I wonder if that sort of behavior has started to change. Here we go, Kashka on the move once again, this time for 8th position. He's going to have to do it around the outside as he gets into the braking zone of Lake Home, but you can do it because that right-hander becomes a left-hander and it becomes the inside line, and he does indeed take that 8th place position. And you can bet Moritz is going to be watching that and thinking, I need to do something just like that very soon.
Now that very much was a defensive posture from Maracek in the big shot car coming into Lake Home, but again the move was done. He did his best to defend it, but Kashka's tyres are very much behaving themselves well, and again look at the distance he's already opened up for himself. Lubomir Moritz, he again, a hard starting car, or hard tyre starting car I should say. He's also enjoying the benefit of his tyres really being in the operating windows. He's putting all the pressure in the world on the big shot car. He does not want to lose the back of Kashka, so he will want to dispatch the big shot car as quickly as he can, but of course he has to do it in a safe way. He doesn't want to send both of them off into the dust, as there you just saw the big shot car get a little bit uncomfortable coming through Campus and Stavolo. So I think now the soft tyres are really going to start to hurt, as the hard starters are now really starting to come good. Equally, of course, all the soft starters have to go onto the oh, there we go, I was just about to say, so fairly soon they're going to be coming onto the hard tyres, and that's exactly what 4 of the top 5 have done. Pachada has opted to continue, and David Pachada has chosen to continue as well. Both Sirotets coming in at the same time. It's just about to make this point, actually. You don't have double stacking going on. Everybody has their own unique pit boss. For those unfamiliar with iRacing or with this particular series, there's no shared pit boxes. Everybody has their own dedicated pit box. But that leaves Podstarter on his own. Has he left it a lap too late? Only really time will tell. And there you see the tyres are starting to give up. He's not got as much traction coming through Lake Home and Malmedy as he's been having. I have a horrible feeling Podstarter may have left this a little bit too late to bring it in. But he could also be pushing like an absolute lunatic at this stage to maximum. Oh, nearly pushing himself into the wall. I think he is trying to push very, very hard to maximize this additional lap on these tires, but the tires are on the absolute edge of what they can give him. The
one benefit that he does have, of course, though, is lightness. Extreme lightness. The car has very little fuel at the moment. It's running on fumes, so it would have been quicker down the Kemmel Straight. It will be quicker down this flat out section here as he exits Curve Paul Frere. So yeah, he's gonna have some benefits in a few key areas. So we'll see. We have seen the overcut work quite successfully here in VGP. Now, obviously, he's not overcutting anybody as the lead driver, but I do think he has. You can see in the background there, David Pachada using that push to pass. I wasn't watching the push to pass usage, but something tells me David Pachada may have used 1 or even 2 push to passes on that lap.
Could well have done, and again he's wanted to maximize the additional time he's spending on those tires. There is Lucas Pachada. I think he's going to fairly comfortably take the lead because he's already coming into the chicane before Lucas Podstarter's even come to a halt. Yeah. Now the pit lane is really long here in Spa. Look how many people are now coming in. These are basically the rest of the soft starters essentially coming in, or the vast majority of them at least. Oh, he is getting underway again, but Lucas Pachada, there you go, he's already gotten past. So is that going to throw Podstarter into the grips of his former team? Potentially, the Entropic cars, of course, going to have a bit of a faster exit from La Source, although Podstarter near enough takes the same line, just slightly tighter. But that could potentially put him under pressure by Sirotech. Oh, the irony of Podstarter, the evacuee essentially from Entropic, now being challenged by both of their cars. But we will see. But that's given Lucas Pachada about 1.5 seconds gap. The last thing you ever need to give Lucas Pachada is space, because he will run.
I am dying. Like, iRacing, I am begging you to please give us a way to see how many push-to-passes are remaining, because I really do think at this stage, with how similarly paced all 4 of these drivers are in the top 4, you know, it really is going to come down to strategy, you know, 4D chess and all that kind of stuff, and how the drivers use their push-to-pass and all that kind of stuff. Now, Podstata will have 1 lap fresher tires, but on a set of hards in VGP, it really doesn't mean that much. You know, if this was F1 22 in a 25% distance race, then sure, 1 lap fresher tires would absolutely make a difference, but I don't think that's going to make a huge difference one way or the other. I think the bigger thing here is going to be just be how many push-to-passes they have remaining, and if, you know, Lucas Pichata can break away, because at the moment Podstata's really not getting much of a slipstream, if anything, at 1.5 seconds gap to Pichata. So I would imagine he's going to try and close that down while using as little of the push-to-pass as possible. Meanwhile, by the way, we're on board with Moritz, who is now on the soft tire compound. And I wonder if he is just going to really make mincemeat of the competition in the second half of this race, as he applies some pressure to Maricek for a top 10 position. He's going to have to go around the outside at La Source. He can't quite do that, but it should give him a slightly better exit out of La Source, but he doesn't want to be doing the overtake too soon, because, yeah, if you run up to the back of the car ahead of you too soon before the Kemmel Straight, then of course that can be problematic. So, but Moritz here definitely has some serious pace compared to Maricek up ahead, and there's no surprise there given the deficit in the tire compound.
No, absolutely true. I mean, on the previous lap, Moritz was looking to try and make the move through Pohon again, mainly on the exit of it. Oh, into Normandy! Oh my goodness me! Now, there didn't look like there was impact from our camera view, but that has sent the big shot car into the wall. Oh no! And that is oh well, that wheel is very dead. I don't think it's questioning that one just by the language of the car. As soon as it wants to then turn right, it's going to just dig itself into a hole. Now, I'd like to see a replay of that, and I'm sure we will do shortly. We do know that the netcode differences can kind of make the difference, but it looked like the big shot car just turned away slightly too much in a panic.
Yes, maybe it was surprised.
Yeah, very much so. Again, Maricek is an experienced driver, this much we know, but he very much wasn't expecting the move. But in saying that, there was nothing wrong with the move. It was surprising. It caught me out. You don't tend to expect a move into Malmedy, but he was absolutely alongside by the time they committed to the right-hander. That was not a reckless move. It wasn't like he just suddenly banzaied with no room. Moritz made his intention clear, which is not what Maricek was expecting. However, if there was impact between the two, or if there was a netcode issue, let's have a look at this again. And no, I'd say that was just that was a panic. That was a very big shock moment for the big shot car. We knew that pun had to come in there somewhere. I think that was just a very big surprise moment. Oh my goodness, there's a car there, and he's thrown the car slightly too hard, and he really was only slightly. And as soon as he got onto the dust, that was it. He tried to brake, but you've got no braking efficiency out there, and that has spelled the end for Maricek's race. So that's going to guarantee all points pretty much for all surviving cars.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway for that for me was just looking at Moritz's line at the exit of the corner. There was definitely space for another car. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think Moritz was in the wrong to go for the move, because, yeah, like you said, he wasn't just kinda alongside. He was like, the whole car, like all 4 wheels were lined up. So yeah, it was. I think he was right to make the move, and I think, yeah, Maricek, maybe just got a little bit caught off guard, a little surprised, like, whoa, wasn't expecting you there, and ended up in the gravel, which is really, really unfortunate. He's in the pits. Bruna's been into the pits as well for quite a while now, so if Maricek can get back out there, he will get himself a championship point. And I mean, just looking at the championship standings, I mean, it's extremely close in the middle part of the field, from like Thomas Hora down to Adam Pilo, from 12th down to 17th. We're talking 3 championship points. So if there's an opportunity to pick up a point, I would definitely encourage drivers to go for that. But interestingly, in the top 4 here, we've seen the two battles kind of getting closer. This is actually what happened to Bruna. I mentioned him just a moment ago, and now wonderfully we're going to see what happened there. Just put his wheel on the inside curb there at Blanchimont, and it just unsettled the car. And you know, you're carrying so much speed at that part of the track, so. Unfortunately, that was a pretty heavy impact for him. But as I was saying, up at the front here, Podstata has closed that gap down, was 1.5. Now you can take the 1 out of the equation. Now it's just 0.5. Meanwhile, Kadlacek as well has closed up to the back of Sirotek, and has really sort of been positioning himself almost like the faster Entropic, like, hey, there's 19 minutes of this race left. If you're not going to close up to the top 2, maybe give me a go.
It could well be, but if... It kind of really depends on the mentality. I think the Entropic pair are hoping that Prachada and Podstarter are going to really fight very hard. Oh, this is a throwback to last season, isn't it? It's the 2 LPs again that are having an argument, although Podstarter was, of course, in the Entropic car, so it was LP and E twice last time around. But okay, we haven't quite got that particular combination, but it is the old stalwarts. It's the old opponents from last season having a go at the top spot that Lucas Pichada currently is holding on to. He's going to have to work pretty hard because, again, we really are seeing a revitalised Lucas Podstata since his change to the Cavago team. But the Sirotek pair, it rather depends on what their outset is. They've either decided the top 2 are too quick, we aren't going to catch them, let's just maintain station here and bring home the points for Entropic, or they're hoping that the top 2, well, it could be they're hoping the top 2 kind of just fight and slow each other down. A little early to be thinking about, oh, let the top 2 fight and that'll bring us in. We're a little bit too far away from that. Although, saying that, is Podstarter going to make the move here, or is he going to bide his time? You see, Lucas Pichada just stayed on the racing line. He knows what the score is. There's no point in him trying to defend that inside line with this much time still on the clock, because he knows he can just counterattack next time around. No disrespect to Podstarter, it was a nice clean move, does put him back up into the lead of the race, which is something he hasn't enjoyed for quite a while, in fairness. So he will take the opportunity to lead the race, but Lucas Pichada, he's not going to be worried by that. He won't panic. Lesser experienced drivers would worry they've just lost the lead, or worry they've just lost a position, but along the Kemmel Straight it's almost expected for that sort of thing. But you gotta say, Lucas Podstata is really trying to push hard. You can just tell by how deep he's going into some corners, and he's already trying to build up a bit of a gap. What he would love to do is just break the slipstream to Lucas Pichada, as we see Lucas, I say Lucas, they're both Lucases. We see Lucas Pichada just have to do that slight bit of correction on the exit of the Fanny chicane there. So the car's still kind of on the edge of adhesion there. The tyres aren't quite where he would like them to be. But the Entropic pair, I reckon they're just holding station. They may well have realised we don't quite have the pace to keep up with the top 2. We'll kind of let them do their thing. They're quite some distance ahead of Michael Lehman, 5-ish seconds. So let's just, we'll be here to pick up any pieces if it does go wrong between the top 2.
And they're not really losing touch either. They're still about 2 and a bit seconds or so. So it's not like they're really losing tons of time or anything like that. I have to say I am a bit disappointed in seeing Michael Lehman a bit off. He hasn't featured nearly as heavily in the second half of this race as he did in the first half of the race, which I think is really unfortunate. He's in a bit of a dead zone at the moment, honestly, where he's about 5 seconds adrift of the Entropic pair, but about 4 seconds ahead of his teammate, Mecca Alferson, by the way, having an incredible day with both cars in the top 6 as it stands currently. But Lucas Pichada did not get by on that particular occasion. Pichada maintains the lead for the meantime. Svoboda using a bit of push to pass in trying to catch up to Moritz. Remember, Moritz being the leading soft runner. The only other driver on the softs is Kiesel as it stands right now. And he's running a few seconds just behind Hermach, who is, unfortunately, I think Kiesel and Hermach are basically just in a battle for 13th position at this point, because with almost 20 seconds to Alish Danda, it doesn't. I don't think they're going to be battling for 12th unless something truly catastrophic happens further up the road. But with 15 minutes remaining, it's not, an impossibility. It's still very possible that something can happen, especially with cars being so close. Oh my gosh, they can tell us how many push-to-passes are remaining. There it is, up at the top left of your screens. We can see it is actually a dead even heat between Podstata and Pichata, which gives me an incredible amount of happiness to know this, actually, Chris, because neither of them has an advantage. This is a head-to-head fight to the finish for the next 14 minutes and 20-something seconds.
Let's have it. I'm so stoked for this. I make no apology for saying that vast majority of races we get here of VGP are absolute stormers, and this was always going to be an excellent combination. The single-seaters, notoriously tricky cars to drive at Spa-Francorchamps. Oh yeah, I was looking forward to this, and once again our field are not disappointing. Through Eau Rouge, up and over Radion once again. Now is Lucas Pichata going to make the move this time? He's close enough. I bet you he backs out of it. Yeah, he's already backed out of it. He'll just show his... Or is he? Oh, no, he's gone for it. He's proved me completely wrong. Now, he went to that offensive line quite early. He didn't just jump out from behind Pichata, from Podstata, beg your pardon. So that was fully his intent. He was going to make the move. He was just waiting for Podstata to break. That caught me completely by surprise, because I thought Pichata was going to loiter behind Podstata for a while, not put himself in the position to be counterattacked. But again, this race is so full of surprises. I'm quite happy to be proven wrong in these strategies, because one thing these guys are not is predictable.
And also, it's worth pointing out that doing some fuel saving can actually pay dividends at a track like Spa. You go to a track like the Hungaro Ring or something like that, something that's a little bit less high speed, a little bit less flat out, and saving fuel isn't really going to pay a lot of dividends because you can't really turn the wick up all that much anyway. If anything, running less fuel can oftentimes pay dividends. But here at a place like Spa, where you're full throttle for such a long period of the lap, it can definitely be beneficial to stay behind, sit in the slipstream, save a bit of fuel. Just do some lift and coasting at the ends of the straight, and then just save that bit of extra overrun on the engine for the very end of the race when you need those extra revs and that extra horsepower and all that kind of stuff, that extra fuel. So yeah, I completely agree with you. I too am a little bit surprised about that one, but he seems to be getting the hammer down now, doesn't he? That's about the biggest gap that we've seen in a handful of laps or so. And I haven't seen any massive mistakes from Podstata on that previous lap. So I'm not sure what's happening there, but it seems to me like Lucas Pichata is just kind of getting the hammer down. In the background there, though, I think something is heating up a little bit there. Kadlacek, Siratek thinking about going defensive as he gets into the braking zone for Lecombe, but no, they maintain their position for the meantime. But I have to say, I'm very surprised about that one. I don't know if Kadlacek is under any sort of team orders or anything like that, but at the moment, he's being an incredible teammate, whether that's by command or not.
Absolutely. I would have thought that it would have been better for those two to swap rounds. We look at if the championship, if the race ended now, that is how the championship for the top would look. So expect that to change, because there's going to be overtakes going on later in the race. We still have another 11 minutes of it to go. Also, when we had a look at the push to pass amounts left, Siratek had burnt all his up. Yes. They start with 10, I believe it is, 10 or 12. And Siratek had run out, so Kadlacek still had a few left. I'm a little surprised they haven't swapped them around and let Kadlacek use them to try and pull Siratek along. Yeah. Unless it isn't so. It could be that Kadlacek is absolutely flat out to keep up with Siratek. And if that's the case, they wouldn't want to risk slowing Siratek down and therefore slowing them both down. So I have no doubt that they are communicating with one another during the course of the race. It won't be team orders as such, they're just discussing how best to use their strategy. You're not seeing... Yeah, if this was a real challenge for position, if they weren't teammates, you'd see Kadlacek throw it along the inside. You would see Siratek defending every single inch that's coming into the corners. But you're not seeing that. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I hope they start fighting towards the end of the race, because it would be great to okay, we're settled in this position. They're either too far up behind the top two, or if they're in the battle for the top position, then that changes things again. But if they are where they are right now, if there's no chance of them getting to the top spot, I really hope they have a fight, because it would be great to see how Kodiak and Sirotech do, mano a mano, so to speak.
You could actually see them talking on the straight there, right as they were coming up and over the crest and onto the Camel Straight. You could see Kodiak say something, and Sirotech was responding as he was heading down the Camel Straight. So you're right. You're absolutely right. There is definitely some communication going on between the two of them. I don't know how, if that's team orders or if that's just coordination, as you described it. But they are at this stage losing quite a bit of time, actually, to the leading pair. They've dropped about a second over the past couple of laps or so. I don't know if that's maybe one of them is running low on fuel, something like that. Maybe that's why we're seeing so much communication between the two of them. But here we go, between that's Svoboda and Moritz going side by side. I think one of them has been into the pits recently. Yeah, look at that's a 201 from Svoboda. I think both of them, in fact, have been into the pits recently and fitted new sets of soft compound tires. So it's very interesting. And Svoboda, no, he must not be coming into the pits again. He must just be going over the line as he as he starts another lap. I think that might be the case, or he's just blinking a little bit. But here we go. The Entropic pair. Oh, and the top pair, Pachada and Podstata are both in. So when I said earlier that this was a one-stop race, I was wrong. Very, very wrong.
I thought the hard tyres would last a bit longer than that, but no, they're seeing advantage of those soft tyres, I suspect. It looks like Podstata actually parks inside the safety car there. Adam Pino has already been in, so he'll be coming through. He won't be challenging for the lead. He'll be slightly too far back. As well, what a surprise. The two LPs come out right with one another. But Adam Pino, he's on a slightly different strategy. His tyres are slightly more warm, but with only 8 minutes left, I don't think it's going to make a huge amount of difference. But that puts Adam Pilo up into 5th place. Both Mecha Awful Sim cars, 5th and 6th. Nicely done. They've re-established that particular spot as, that's Podstata. Now, Lucas Podstata looked like that was a more defensive start, so Podstata went, nah, I can fit through there. And through he went. Now that the soft tyres are on, last pit stop's done, game on, let's have it.
Yeah, just over 7 minutes remaining. This is an all-out dogfight at this point, and Lucas Pachada is going to have to. He's going to have to go on the offensive here, and Podstata is going to have to play the defensive role. I don't know actually which of these positions these drivers would prefer. Because obviously some drivers would prefer to be the lead car in this situation, and other drivers would actually prefer to be the car that's following, just purely because it is so, air quotes, easy to overtake at Spa, to borrow something from you. And by the way, everybody is now onto the soft compound tire for the final stages of this race. So the final 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, are going to be done entirely on the soft tire compound. We can see Kodiak using a bit of push to pass. He lost a bit of time during that pit stop phase to Sirotech. He's just going to try and close that gap up. Pilo has also lost his position to Lehman, so we've already had one swap around in terms of teammates. Will we see another one on the Entropic side of things? We'll have to keep an eye out on that. 6 and a bit minutes still remaining as Podstata and Pachada begin yet another lap. Very, very close between the two of them, just 0.4 of a second between the two of them as they exit out of La Source and power down towards Eau Rouge and Radion once again with a fairly comfortable gap of about 4 seconds between the Entropic pair behind them. Kodiak once again deploying a bit of that push to pass. So is Michael Lehman to hopefully try and pull a bit of a gap from his teammate and maybe even try and close up on the Entropic pair if he could be quick enough towards the tail end of this race. But no change of position at the front. However, the Entropic pair are going to swap around finally. And is that too late, Chris? Do you think that's something that should have happened a long time ago?
Possibly, but if Kadlicek was that much quicker than the Sirotech, you'd have thought he'd have made the move before now of his own accord. So I don't really think it would have made a difference. That looked orchestrated to me. That was Sirotech letting Kadlicek through more than it was Kadlicek making the move. But then we'll see how many times have I been wrong in this race so far, and I'm quite happy to be proven wrong in these sort of circumstances. But Lucas Pichada, he hasn't got long. There's only a few laps remaining. He can't just loiter behind Podstarter. He doesn't have the benefit of time, as there's less than 5 minutes to go. This race has flown by. There's been so much going on, and it is a battle of the LPs. Will Lucas Podstarter gain his first win of the season, the championship? The champion from last season. Seems so strange to say that. His first win of the season coming into round 8. Seems a strange thing to say. Or will it be win number 3 for Lucas Pichada? Either way, with Stefanko out of the race, it is going to really make quite a shuffle up of the points gaps up top.
Yeah, no drop rounds or anything like that in this championship. Every single round counts for its full value. So Stefanko is really going to be feeling that one. And on a personal level, I may even reach out to him after we've done this commentary and just ask exactly what happened. Because again, it looked like his initial start. I hate to go back to it. I know it's been almost an hour, but I'm still thinking about it. Because yeah, it looked like his initial start was good, but then something happened as he got into second gear or something. I'm not sure. But focusing on the battle up at the front, it was really interesting to see them come out of Curve Paul Frere, because both of them did the exact same thing. They both wiped their brow, and that's it. They both looked so calm and so composed as they race around this track. But then each of them, as they came out of Curve Paul Frere and powered down towards Blanchimont, just lifted one finger to wipe the sweat from their brow, and that's it. That is the entirety of their reaction to the current behemoth battle that is going on, and I cannot believe it. I think you and I are probably sweating more than they are. Kadlicek, by the way, has pulled a bit of a gap. It's not massive though. That could just be down potentially to the difference in push to pass count. So less than 3 minutes remaining. It's a little under 2 minutes for a lap. So yeah, I think it's going to be 2 more laps for our leading pair as they come to end this lap very shortly here.
Yeah, very true. Kadlicek also got the fastest lap of the race. Is he on for another podium? 2 for 2. Wow. What a storming start for Kadlicek. Here we go again, on board with the ERT racing ace of Lucas Pichada in his bid to try and shake Podstarter from that top spot. Yeah, I bet you they are both really feeling the pressure as the penultimate lap has begun here in Spa. A little bit deep for Podstarter, but he did that last time and it didn't seem to affect him. Again, the ERT car just didn't seem quite so settled as he came out of La Source. Eau Rouge, Radion, once again. Now, what is Lucas Pichada going to do? Every time since the pit stop that they've come up here, Lucas Pichada has to, Lucas Podstarter, again, there's a throwback to last season where I was muddling up those two. He was defending that inside line as he did there again, and Lucas Pichada, he wasn't so quick to return to the racing line. I think he realistically knew he wasn't going to get close enough. Gets very close now, but nowhere to use that, nowhere to make a pass here. It's all about pressure management, and you can tell that Podstarter, he's feeling the pressure, but he is doing everything he can to hang on to that top spot.
It's really fun being on board with both of these drivers. At the moment, we're on board with Lucas Pichada, obviously, in the chase car, but it is an absolute privilege to ride on board with both Lucas Pichada and Lucas Podstarter, especially at this stage of the race. Just seeing the way that they manage the tires and approach each corner and attack each corner and the lines that they take and everything, it really is incredible. And I think that's why people like us enjoy doing commentary so much, is because we watch drivers like this and we just appreciate the minutia of everything. Just every small little thing combines into this wonderful lap, and this wonderful race as well too. And the fact that here we are, 40 seconds remaining in this race, and they're so close after trading positions so many times over the course of the race as well too. But it's all going to come down to this, the final lap around Spa here in Belgium. in VGP 2022. These Mercedes-Benz drivers have one final attempt. Final attempt for Pichata to go on the attack here. One final time for Podstata to go on the defensive here. And I have to say, it's a good-sized gap for Podstata. Both of the drivers deploying push-to-pass, as you can see at the top left of your screens here as they make their way through Eau Rouge, up and over the hill, onto the Kemmel Straight. 0.3 of a second is roughly the difference, and the closing speed is much higher this time. Podstata is going to have to stay defensive. He's not going to be moving to the left side of the track this time. As Pichata breaks much later, he's going to have to go around the outside. Space being given to both of them, but again, it becomes the inside line. Podstata trying desperately to hang on in there, but I think Pichata is just about ahead, but he's going to leave the space, curiously enough, through Buchel. That's a surprising one. I would have expected him to close the door on that one, but he left the space through No Name. Again, he leaves the space. Surely that's going to be the end of the battle here, but no, Podstata is positioning like he's thinking about going side by side through Pouan, but no, Pichata comes out ahead for the meantime. But we are not out of overtaking locations just yet, because of course, into the bus stop chicane, there is one more attempt for Lucas Podstata to try and take that position back and get Carvago their first win of the season, their first win in the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP season. They would absolutely love that. Here we go, through Curve Paul Frere for the final time. And I think Lucas Pichata has enough of a gap. You will start to see that Carvago car get bigger and bigger as we get closer and closer to the bus stop chicane. Surely Lucas Pichata is going to feel the need to stay defensive. He's going to stay to the right-hand side of the track as that's Podstata going around the outside. He can't quite make it work, and that is going to be the race win for Lucas Pichata. His third win of the season. He narrowly finishes by 1/10 of a second ahead of Lucas Podstata, who pushed him the entire time. An incredible race from both of those drivers, so deserving of the win are both of them. Sirotek and Kadlacek crossing the line side by side as well. Lehman taking home that top 5 position, and it's David Pichata actually who takes 6th ahead of Adam Pilo, who slips down to 7th position in the later stages of the race. Kashka for Orlin Benzina with a fantastic 8th position. Hora to recover to 9th, an incredible drive from him, and Svoboda picking up a top 10 for Puma. That's a huge haul of points for them, with both cars finishing today and finishing in the points. Svoboda in the top 10. Moritz in the lone ESET car could only manage 11th position, unfortunately for him. And there is Hermach, who again had that mistake just after the pit stop or the safety car period, and lost so many positions and so much time as a result of that. But he does finish in 13th position, picks up some valuable points for the Carvago team. And Kiesel will be the final car across the line. Again, though, picking up points just by staying in it till the end is going to pick up some very valuable points for the Puma team.
What a race we were treated to. Lucas Pichata has beaten out Lucas Podstata to the top spot, with Sirotek rounding out the top 3. Kadlacek did what he could, but couldn't quite hold on, but he does take the fastest lap as consolation prize. And Lehman, David Pichata, Pilo in 7th, Kashka 8th, Thomas Hora 9th, and Miroslav Svoboda rounding out the top 10. Then Moritz, Danda, Hermach, Kiesel, all getting points. Those that didn't see the flag were Maracek, Brunner, Shimbera, Vizzy, Nadlik, and of course that very surprising retirement from Martin Stefenko. What a race!
Yeah, that was incredible. And Kadlacek with the fastest lap, by the way, is going to be a bonus point for him. And with that, Lucas Pichata does move ahead in the championship standings, but by only 9 points. Then it's another 47 points down to Lucas Podstata in the Carvago team. Martin Sirotek in 4th position. Michael Lehman, by the way, moved ahead of Nadlik as a result of that, due to Nadlik's Neil Poix in that. Kadlacek as well, with another, or very nearly podium finish, is going to move up even more positions. He's now up into 11th with 32 2 points. Lubomir Moritz as well with that point scoring is going to move ahead of Aldrich Stepanovsky. He now sits on 7 championship points. In the team's championship, Entropic moves up into 2nd position ahead of ESET after ESET failed to score a massive amount of points here today in Belgium. Only Moritz scoring points today, but it is still the Pachada brothers leading the way for ERT. 43 points is the gap. For myself, Justin Sutton, for Chris Buxton, and for all of the drivers and for all of the production team, we want to thank all of you for tuning in from around the world. Thank you so much for watching. That has been Spa. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.